Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is interesting. I haven't been nervous to make a video in a while, and I think it's because I'm probably going to debunk some people's dreams. I'm sorry. I just want to thank all the residents of Lake Tahoe. I successfully have found a way to colonize your fortress, and there is amazing findings. Now, on that note, I want to say that I'm really going to go far out there in this video. Like, we're talking about mythical creatures here. Some people call them cryptids, but they were known by the early inhabitants of this area. The Paiute, the Washoe. There's a lot of history and folklore around this topic. So, I thought it would be something fun to explore as I was on my trip to Lake Tahoe and just started to, have some fun. So the thing is, if you're like me and you are incredibly intuitive and clairvoyant, you try to go on vacation, but in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, I'm going to get ready for it. I'm going to get ready for this intense dialogue with this power spot. This sacred land is going to speak directly to my soul. So, I want to show you some clips of like when I just got there. I was trying to have fun and like just make light of things.
Tahoe, Tessie! I don't think Tahoe Tessie's here.
Oh, the thing is, Tahoe Tessie really got my imagination, and I kind of went into a deep, lucid sleep state in which I may or may not have asked my higher self, my guides, basically my connection to source. I might have asked some questions that really opened up my spirit to be able to kind of funnel this energy, this consciousness. So here's the thing. Whether you believe in channeling or not, I am basically my job to be here, to act as an ambassador, to make sure that this information does go between these portals and we make this shift. Maybe it's not for everyone, but either way, I just want to make sure I do my job. So what I received was incredible. The answers to a lot of my questions were just like filtering in so quickly, much to my surprise. I knew this was very sacred land. The water was incredible, but it wasn't until that day that I just showed you, it wasn't until after I'd gone into the water, I had found my connection to it. It was very intimidating, by the way. The 5 days I was swimming in that lake, it always gives me a sense of reverence. And there, that night I went to into that lucid state and was able to connect with the land on a very deep level. So my curiosity about Tahoe Tessie was on the list of many things, and that's what we're just going to focus on in this video, because this lake is far beyond just this topic. But yeah, I just wanted to give honor to this because like myself in the video, it's just like kind of a joke, but I actually kind of realized that this being did in fact at one time inhabit these waters. And the thing is, this being is incredibly kind and sensitive, and whether or not they come in scary forms or they can shapeshift into, serpents or dragons, it does not warrant that dismissal of compassion and like heart. This is what I channeled. It's basically journaling I spent like 3 hours in connection with this water spirit. An introduction to this being is calling it a water spirit, because at this time, it acts more on this planet, on this 3D earth plane. That's what it acts as. But in many ways, it does have features of a serpent, and it does have a lot of, that folklore that goes into dragon mythology. That's sort of its roots. So basically what it went through was a shift on this planet, and a portal did open up, and there was an immense change in this being's environment, and it was able to basically go into other versions of this earth plane that are in existence here and now, but in a much lower density. This being was undergoing immense threats when it was more of a lower dimensional earthly based serpent. And like I said, it did inhabit Lake Tahoe. So the folklore, all the history, there's roots here. Human eyes have seen this being, and it's been recorded in our collective. And that's why we come to videos like this with, that kind of curiosity, because there is something that reminds us, but we understand it deeply in our spirit. And that's kind of what started to happen to me as the days went on, especially when I was swimming in the water. This being has told me many things. I'm just kind of glossing over the channeling. The unfortunate circumstances that it went through before it left, it was immense struggle. Like this being was basically targeted, and it was forced from its place in Lake Tahoe. And that's the unfortunate thing here. I think that's what got me emotional earlier, because I'm like all too familiar with like just your most sacred land being forced from you, and you being ejected, basically, targeted by technology. So we could get into dates here. I really went far into this being's experience here, but basically the threats to its existence here in Lake Tahoe didn't begin until I'll just say basically until the government came in and started to infiltrate the area. Now, they talk about the lake being so deep that humans cannot go down to the bottom. Yeah, that may not be, may or may not be true at this time, but when this being was around, apparently it was being forced and stunned, basically, by sound and tectonics, basically blinded and exasperated using sound. And so I do believe that the military industrial complex, it's been around and it has had that technology. So this being did go through a lot of warfare. And moving on, it really talked about wanting to, remain inconspicuous to humans. This dragon, now I feel comfortable calling it a dragon because it talks to me about its relocation. And there are other places in the world where these beings are able to reside, and they are sighted by man here on Earth. So some of those places have been made known to me as Argentina, and more specifically Asia. And Scotland, of course. This being was trying to show me was that this portal was opening and that he had a choice. And I do feel like there's a masculine energy here, and I do know its name, but I feel like it's so sacred I don't even want to I'm not ready. The dragon was able to go into a portal into a higher realm and was basically saved from the onslaught of, the determination of man. Furthermore, Asia has been depicted as some sort of haven for these dragon spirits, and we've seen them obviously dancing, and that's their culture. But I never realized that, that like Loch Ness monster or whatever, that's not a monster. That's a real dragon spirit that is, connected to a lot of these people in these more remote ancient villages that remember these beings, celebrate them. So I do feel like what this being was trying to show me is that there is a haven that they're able to be in now, and it has a lot to do with the people there not being in fear of it, but knowing its true loyalty to them. Because that's another thing I want to bring up here, is that these serpents, these dragons, they're so beautiful in their kinship to humans that understand them. I used to have a fear of snakes in general, and I didn't like reptiles because of the way they acted. But I learned over time that they're different. So this being is just reminding me, like, I know I am of similar DNA, but I come from a different star system. So there is one last point I wanted to make, and I know people, have already made it like a funny name, but like Tahoe, Tessie, and also like the Loch Ness monster, both of those names just don't fit these beings. So just know that it's not a monster. It's not something that wants to hurt you. I'm not going to be using that term anymore, but I just wanted to put that out there that, we can start to honor the sacredness of this land and like start to understand these spiritual beings.